Hey y'all, Ramdino here, coming at you again for another Appalachian Trail community news, through hiker update, and trail information. Well, we got a lot of good news this week, some sad news, but a lot of good news what's going on out there with the through hiker. So let's go ahead and dive right into what's going on out there. So McDuck the Okie and JFK, they are well into the 100-mile wilderness. So that means that within the next week to 10 days, probably less than 10 days, they will be summiting Mount Katahdin. So they have been reporting in on a regular basis. They've passed the 2,100-mile mark, so that's awesome. Next time we talk to them, they'll probably be at the summit. So looking forward to that, guys. Patriarch, he has jumped up to Stratton, Maine to accommodate his timeline that he's got going on with some family stuff. He did finish the Bigelows, and so and crossed the Kennebec River there. He says that he is praying for his legs won't be totally gone when he gets back, because he is going to get off. You know, anytime you get off for a week or a little more, you start losing your trail legs. You don't lose your hiker hunger, but you do lose your trail legs a little bit. But hopefully he won't. Going to get back on, and when he after he gets through summiting, he's still got to get through New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, and Massachusetts, and finish up there at Mount Greylock. So here's a photo of him of summiting Mount Washington earlier this week. Mount Lion and Strider, they are into New Hampshire, and they took a zero with a wonderful trail angel that they met there in Hanover, and so that was awesome for them to get the opportunity to do that. Cobweb Rose, Mountain Crusher, and Snapshot, they have summited and are over Mount Washington. They summited when on a terrible day they had 50-mile-an-hour sustained winds up there with a cold rain. So the wind chill was probably somewhere around freezing or not or less when they were up there with that, particularly around the gusts. They said the weather has been terrible in the whites, been in the 50s during the day. Wind chills are bringing the temps down into the 30s, and at night it's been getting even colder. They say the trail is really wet and muddy. They're not seeing a lot of sobos. They've only seen like maybe one sobo for every 2 nobos that they've run into, and they've literally been getting blown off the mountain when they're up there at tree line. So there's been some really sustained big time winds they've had up there. Between Washington and Madison, they had sustained winds of 30 miles an hour with sustained gusts, which I kind of not sustained gust is not the right word, I guess, because gusts don't indicate sustained. But in any case, they did have gusts up there of 90 miles per hour, getting blown around a lot. They say it poured misty, cold rain all day, and they were borderline hypothermic. If you think you're borderline hypothermic, you're probably already hypothermic. They made it 15 miles to Pinkham-Nopso, took a zero there, and this is a video that Cobweb Rose sent in between Mount Washington and Madison Springs Hut.
This is at least 90-mile-an-hour winds. There's no shot it's not. Keep getting blown over.
So that is some bad conditions up there, and unfortunately when we get into whites, there's not a lot of cover. You can get down below tree line, which helps the situation, but it's kind of hard just to get directly off the trail. You can't just go right and get a shuttle somewhere. You can try to go hole up in a hut if there's one nearby, but you just got to be careful out there, guys, particularly get up in the whites. That's a whole new realm up there when it gets to be hiking. Mount Washington has had over 200-mile-an-hour winds that have been recorded up there, and it has literally snowed every month of the year. Not every year, but on years over the past. So you never know what kind of conditions you're going to get up there at Mount Washington. So just be careful out there, guys. Fortunately, they've been a family. They've been able to watch out for each other, make sure each other's safe. So I would not attempt to go through anything like that, particularly if there was any type of bad conditions forecasted, unless I had other people with me and I had some viable means of communication, like the bailout button on the GPS that folks will carry. So Honey Bun, he is over Mount Moosilauke and continuing north. Iron Mike, he is through the presidentials on his flip-flop. Kenny Powers, he is somewhere in Massachusetts. And BD, she got off the trail. Now she's on her flip-flop, so she's down south here, somewhere around the Shanties. She got off the trail because she was really feeling bad, and she just had all kind of headaches, dizziness, no appetite. She had, let's just say, well, I can say it because they say it on TV. She had diarrhea, and that was her words too. And so all of those, which is kind of weird to have that condition, but you're dehydrated. So she went into an urgent care, and she was indeed dehydrated, and so she had to get some electrolytes in her and got checked out by a doctor there in East Tennessee, and she'll be getting back on trail and finishing up the Shanties and moving on south of the Shanties here real soon. So we had some summits from folks that we've been tracking over the past couple months. So Chillin, she summited. She was at Katahdin. She was number 351, and at Springer she was number 415. Harper's Ferry, she was number 227, and those numbers are what your number is when you checked in. So so she checked in. She was hiking number 415 at Springer. Likewise there at Katahdin, she was number 351. So that happened this past week. So we've had, you know, probably closer to 400 NOBO that have finished at Katahdin by now. She says she cannot begin to describe the life she has lived over the past 6 months. It's been a chapter in a great novel that God continues to write. She doesn't know what the next chapter holds, but she is really grateful that she had this opportunity. She wanted to give a special thanks out to all the trail angels out there that had helped her get through. Melissa, the Davis family, the Davies family, Debbie, shuttle drivers, trail angels that set up Trail Magic, the hostels, the trail maintainers, her family, and everybody else. Now, her family has been Flying J and Soup Cup. So Soup Cup has been sending us in a few updates over the past couple weeks, and so she just wants to thank them for keeping her alive throughout the course of that and giving her a hand when she needed to. And like I said, she was part of that family with Soup Cup, and of course she summited, so Soup Cup and Flying J summited as well with her. And Soup Cup, he was number 240, Amicalola Falls State Park, number 224 there at Harper's Ferry, and he was number 350 when he summited Katahdin. And Soup Cup said they started at 5 a.m. in the morning. They were some of the first of the 12 hikers at the Ranger Station when you get to A-Ball Bridge. So when you get there, you've got to get a place in the Birches. They only have so many spots there. Fortunately, since they were the first ones there, all three of them got to stay there at Birches together. And he said there was probably 17 to 20 hikers that were looking for a spot there on the 13th when they came through. But then the day before there was only 3. So you never know what kind of mixed bag you're going to get. But right now, with the bubble getting more and more people summiting, then it's going to be harder and harder to get a spot at Birches campsite. So that's Birches is the closest one there to the Hunt Trail system, and where you start out to make your ascent up to Katahdin. And so it cuts off, like, I don't know, 10 miles or so that you would have to stay back at A-Ball Campground if you don't get a spot there in the Birches. And once they reach their quota, they're not letting anybody else in. And then also Bear, he summited on August 7th, and his number was 286 at Katahdin. When he left Springer, it was 1,178 and number 324 at Harper's Ferry. So congratulations to those folks for summiting, and for those folks that are out there on the trail, be careful while you're out there. Look out for each other. And I just think that's awesome. Looking forward to everybody summiting on the trail. So some news we got going on out there. Unfortunately, we did have a death on the trail this year. This past week, it was not a through hiker. It was I guess a day hiker or possibly a section hiker, but it was a very untimely death. 21-year-old Jason Apriku of Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. He was hiking with some friends, and he just collapsed of a sudden medical condition. Don't want to speculate what it was, but in any case, his friends began to give CPR, and then other hikers that were on the AT that came upon him began to give him CPR, and somebody got to a point on the trail where they could call 911. Rescuers, they got those dispatched. They had to dispatch a National Guard helicopter with rescuers in it. The conditions were bad to where the helicopter couldn't land. They were having 90-mile-per-hour gusts. This whole time, this group of people is doing CPR trying to revive Jason. And and then they also dispatched hikers that were walking up the mountain to get there. So they were trying. Everybody was trying their best to get to him, to give this this young man, a fighting chance. Unfortunately, after they couldn't get the choppers in there, it took a while for rescuers to get there. They did get an AED in there, but at this point, he did not have the heart rhythm where an AED would work, and so he succumbed to whatever his medical condition was at the time. And so they spent hours and hours and hours of doing CPR on him. And so you can imagine what that entails, doing that on a person, and the dedication that it takes to do that. So unfortunately, he did pass, and then rescuers worked through the night to get him up to Madison Springs Hut there, and so that he could be retrieved. And they did that through below freezing wind chills. Everybody was basically in all their winter gear getting him up there. Took turns carrying him, getting him up there, but they did get him up there. And then the next day, apparently it cleared up, and choppers were able to get him out, as well as rescuers, and they had to make several runs to get everybody out. So it was a large contingency that was involved with that, more so than could fill up one chopper. So thanks a lot to all those rescuers who did the best they could up there. Even though he didn't make it, they still got him out of there, and it was such a valiant effort on everybody's part. So thank you for those rescuers up there in the White Mountains, and for those hikers and everybody that were part of that did their best to save Jason. It's just very unfortunate that that happens, but the Appalachian Trail, it does take lives every single year. It seems to be that way anyway. And then down in the south here at the Dennis Cove area in the Cherokee National Forest, there was a big storm that came through there, and so there was a lot of impact of the AT. You got a lot of trees that are down across the trail, and there's a lot of dead limbs that have not fallen down that are up in the tops of the trees, otherwise known as dead man or widowmakers. And if they come out of the tree, that's what they make you, is a widowmaker or a dead man or dead woman or whatever. And so those are at between mile marker 413 and 428. So the Forest Service asks that you stay out of that area there in the Dennis Cove area till they can get in there and get all that taken care of. Unfortunately, a lot of times they don't take care of the dead mans and widowmakers. They get what's there on the trail, and the trail maintainers cut it out of the way, but a lot of times they can't get to what's up in the top of the trees, and so you got to be careful with that. They also don't say when they're starting and when they're going to get done, so they kind of leave that up in the air. So I would imagine people are still going to be going through there, but they ask the public to avoid the Frog Level, Dennis Cove, and Pond Mountain Wilderness area while crews work on that and continue to improve some emergency access roads for emergency vehicles. Spineless Cougar up in Vermont. So he is a trail angel that does trail magic up in Vermont, and over the past couple weeks he's been really since I finished and he did some trail magic for me up in Massachusetts, and I got through with my Massachusetts hike. He's been reporting in pack weights of the folks that have come through his trail magic site. So it's always interesting to see what the pack weights are up there, and also he gets some intel from the hikers what the trail conditions are out there. So he's telling us that the hikers are telling him that the Vermont still continues to be muddy. They still having some wet days every now and then. It seems like just when the trail dries out, they wind up getting more rain up there. This has got to have been the wettest through hiking season of any season that I have since I've been doing this for the past 3 to 4 years. They are reporting that the bugs are tolerable, and some water crossings, they say he's had water crossings continue to be wet. So yeah, that's how water is. It's wet, but I think what he really meant was that that they're high enough to where you can't just rock hop across them. You're going to have to ford them. But he did also say that they're not dangerous, so you don't have to worry about the current, but you are going to get wet because they're high enough where rock hopping ain't going to work. This past week he had 18 nobos come through on the day he was doing trail magic. Didn't see any sobos, so for some reason we're not seeing a lot of sobos coming through his site. He had a couple long trail folks that come through there. His pack weights, the average was right around 25 with the mean being around 30. The high there, he had a pack come through that was 49 pounds and then another one that was 18 pounds. So quite a bit of disparity there, over twice from 18 to 40, what that one person is carrying versus the other. And a lot of times that person that's carrying that really heavy weight, they're hiking with a family member, and so they may be carrying, with a small child or young person that's not capable of carrying enough weight, so they may be carrying some of that for them. And then Scott Dunbar, he is a viewer, and he sends in a warning about several rattlers that he ran into. Sends in this video as well. He says that rattler was 1/10 of a mile north from the Standing Bear Hostel. And that's down in North Carolina. So it's 1/10 of a mile north of the dirt road, right about the first switchback. So if I'm thinking that's the right spot, so as you cross the AT crosses over a dirt road there, and the dirt road, gravel road really, goes up to Standing Bear Hostel, but you go ahead and go across the road, and then you go up a hill, and it turns and switches back and starts kind of leveling out a little bit there before it continues on uphill. Right there, I believe that's about 1/10 of a mile up that hill where he's talking about there. So be careful when you're around that area. He felt like that there was more than one up there. Then I had a subscriber that sent in some questions, and one of the questions was, they say that they live out west where most hikers have bear bells on their packs. And those bear bells that they have are there to, presumably, you have a little bell ringing on you, and that warns the bear that you're coming, because it's dinging around, and so the bear leaves, right? So, if a bear wants food and he associates hikers with food, and he hears that bell, he may associate hikers with the bell with food, and it may be a dinner bell for him. But anyway, the Fish and Game Wildlife Commission says that recognizing the type of bear frequenting an area is very important. And they say anyone spending time in the backcountry needs to know what the difference between black bear and grizzly bear scat is. So scat is their fecal matter, their poop on the ground. And so the Wildlife Commission says that black bear poop has berries in it, maybe little pieces of fur, whereas grizzly bear smells like pepper and also has bells in it. So keep that in mind so you can identify what type of bear is in your area and how fast you need to get out of there. But one of the questions a subscriber asked was if folks on the AT had bear bells. So leave a comment down below if you hike on the AT and you wear a bear bell, or if you take bear spray. Personally, I don't do either. Haven't seen a lot of bear bells, although I have seen some on the AT, and I haven't seen really hardly any bear spray, although me personally on trail haven't, but I have seen in other people's videos and stuff. So, but leave a comment if you carry it on the trail. And then last week I told you that I started my sign-up support list for the class of 2024 thru hikers. So the link's down below that. Not going to be reporting on them just yet, but if you are a 2024 thru hiker hopeful and you want to be on that list, that support list, and you have a social media account, or you're going to be reporting directly through me, then giving us your updates, then that is down below, and I'll be posting the link for that spreadsheet here eventually in the next couple weeks. But let's go ahead and get that populated. Then I'll be going back out on trail. I'm going back out on trail, which the 4th weekend in September. September has 5 weekends in it, so I'll be going out the 4th, the 22nd through the 24th. So anybody out there that wants to join me is more than welcome to do so. Love to have you out there on the trail. Love hiking with the hiker community, and so but looking forward to going out there and just enjoying God's creation and just enjoying the trail. I have decided since Massachusetts that I think I'm going to get a hiking a hiking kilt, you know, a skirt to wear, a man's skirt. And so I've looked online. I don't really know the difference between all of them, but if you know anything about hiking kilts, got some suggestions for me, or hike with one, good, bad, or indifferent, I'd like to hear those. Got a little on because I was so hot hiking this past trip in Massachusetts, got a little galded while I was out there. If you're a guy, particularly from the South, you know what galded means. And so I decided that I need a hiking kilt, maybe to get a little more air movement going around down there in the nether region. So I'd like to know, you know, anybody got any tips on that, or more particularly, what type of hiking kilt and where to get it from. Then I wanted to plant a bug in your ear for the end of days hike coming up after Christmas. So for the past 2 years, I've put on and organized an end of days hike on the Foothills Trail. We'll be doing it again this year. Usually have anywhere from 20 to 40 folks that show up for that, and we'll be doing a through hike of the Foothills Trail down in South Carolina. Some of it goes in North Carolina, but it's a really neat trail out there for people to do. Because it really is a good prep for the Appalachian Trail. So if you're going to be doing a 2024 hike, this would be a good opportunity for you to come out there. Typically, we have hikers with a lot of experience, and we have hikers that have been through hikers before. So it gives you a chance to come out with the through hiker community, certainly the hiker community, and maybe ask questions and just, you know, see how folks that have had a through hike and had it done successfully. Or had a long hike, how they've done that successfully, and ask questions and just, you know, just enjoying the camaraderie of the community. So we'll be doing that again this year. We wanted to plant that bug in your ear. Last year we had people that actually came from far enough away to fly in. So I'll be giving some specific dates next week, but put that on your calendar the week after Christmas. Usually start 2 to 3 days after Christmas Day to do that. Folks, that is all I've got this week. As always, appreciate you, and we'll see you out there.